where people become overwhelmed with their empathy, but nobody ever talks about psychic stress and
Oh,
constantly in fear for doing the right thing. That we're in a system right now that keeps us in a state, I call it being milked when we're cows, and whatever this energy is, that Draconian energy is, it's just feeding off of us. Because
oh,
if we are unstressed, we can't be controlled.
okay. Thank you so much for tuning in. My guest today is Jessy Morrison, who some would say is an energy healer, but she doesn't really like the title. She's a rebel with the cause, and she is here to help empaths to not have their energy siphoned. Is that about right, Jessy?
About right? Yeah. I want us to reclaim our energy fields.
Amazing. And so many of us need to do that. And we've learned the wrong ways or insufficient ways to do that. So there's lots to talk about today.
Yeah, there's a lot of misinformation out there.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you taking the time.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. We've been
So
friends a long time, and I've never
I
done a podcast with you.
I know, I love it. I'm loving this. And I know we're going to do many more. I can see it already. So the subject today is empaths, right? And first of all, why don't we start off by talking about what is an empath and why they are so affected by energy? There is a fine line, I find, between a codependent person and an empath. And sometimes the words get interchanged a little bit. So there is such thing as a codependent empath, but really, what would you define as an empath?
Okay, I don't think you're going to like this because I don't like labeling them into all the different types of empaths. I tend to be empathic in all ways, and I think all human beings are empaths. Every single one of them, even
Okay.
the narcissists. And I know we're going to have an argument about that because
My
we
favorite
can
topic.
read. So go back to prehistoric times. If we were out, you and I, gathering berries and leaves and our herbs and things like this, and our hair stood on end, and we'd stop and we'd pay attention and we'd be present, we'd know there was a saber-toothed tiger over there. We'd know there was a bear over there who didn't mean us any harm. He was just picking berries himself. We would know if the mongering tribe was looking for women to steal to help propagate their tribe. We would be aware. We would also be able to read a plant and know what is medicinal and what is poisonous, which one we need to heal our elder, which one we need to have childbirth. That is being empathic. Being empathic is being present every moment of every day and aware of absolutely everything. And we're not overwhelmed when we are aware of everything. We are just in tune with the planet.
Hmm.
Where people become overwhelmed with their empathy is when they're trying to shield, when they're afraid and they're trying to protect themselves, when they're going into this, oh, that's bad. I don't want that energy. And it's like all that energy is flowing out there like an orchestra. We get to listen to the orchestra and hear all the notes and all the instruments and all the frequencies. That is being present. That is being an empath. But we were talking earlier, it has systematically been robbed from us the knowledge of how to deal with our empathy. Okay, so I was talking about the plants and the herbs and to know which water is good for us and which isn't. When we are distracted, like we are in our society right now, with all of this information bombarding us, false information, good information, whatever, different frequencies of information, we are constantly in a stress mode. So most people think about stress as being, oh, I don't know, there is emotional stress. Okay, you got a bad relationship going on, you're not happy at work. This physical stress, you're going through some sort of disease or pain. Okay, there is chemical stress, all the toxins and everything in the world right now, but nobody ever talks about psychic stress, empathic stress, if you want to put it that way. We feel everybody's everything all the time. If you're a parent, you know when your child is happy or when they are sad, when they are suffering or when they are mad. You can feel it. We don't need to put a sign on the fridge with a happy face saying, tell me how you feel, honey. Because if we have to do it that way, we're totally disconnected. But everything in our society brings us into our head. We have three brains. We have the gut brain. The gut brain, they say, feels the energy for 35,000 miles. So how big is that? Is that from here to China, like Canada to Japan? No, the world is 45,000 miles in circumference. So who are we not getting? The penguins and the polar bears? Or are we getting them, but we don't know it, right? So when you think about being able to feel everything, then you're in tune because you're just a part of everything. We always talk about we are one. We are one. What does that mean? The head really wants to know what that means because the head is a 3D construct. It cannot feel we are one. Your heart can feel we are one. Your gut can feel we are one. And if you follow heartmath.com, I think they say the heart, we register the energy for 400 miles. That's huge.
Yeah,
That's
it's
huge.
pretty,
Why
it's
are we
incredible.
running the world from this little brain up here? This is just a photo album and a journal, and this journal puts in interpretations that are often wrong. It doesn't tell the truth about a situation. It tells how you responded to a situation. And when they measure this, even if you are a yogi in the top monastery, it drops off at 4 inches.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
running a world
We've been
from four
conditioned.
inches
We've been
instead of
conditioned though. We've been conditioned to believe that the brain
we have
is
been
more
made,
important than the
we
heart.
have been dumbed down,
Mhm.
systematically
And
dumbed down.
also the fact that people say that, oh, you're too sensitive. It's like a black label to be called sensitive. And when that is our superpower.
It is our superpower, but our parents, their superpower wasn't developed and they had to shut off. Okay. My parents, my mother was not a huggy person. Okay. She lets my daughter hug her and she's like this, as if we're torturing her, and it's been like that for the 25 years she's lived with us. I my parents were never affectionate to each other. They weren't allowed to show affection in public in the 1940s, 50s, 20s. There was war going on. There was, the Gestapo, there was this, there was that. The world has been run by the Draconians who have been using the life force energy of us humans, which our life force energy is huge, and systematically dumbed it down to the point that we're always in pain, or we're always sick, or we're always hiding, or we're always shrinking so that we won't be noticed. Well, we can't shrink small enough. We cannot confine ourselves enough for us to be blipped over and not seen and not predator eaten alive.
Yeah. Can we talk a bit about how that actually happens? So there's first of all, the fact that they keep us in fear all the time. People who watch the news all the time, there's always a fear about something. There's I don't know if there's a good news channel. I stopped watching the news maybe like 18 years ago now. So I stay away, I try to stay away from all of that.
Yeah, I
And
figure
then
if it's important, somebody else will tell me about it.
exactly, it'll come into my awareness if I need to know. And then there's the education system, which they keep you dumbed down and constantly in
And
school.
constantly in fear for doing the right thing, not
Yeah.
thinking like them. They don't say follow your own instincts or your own inspirations. They say think like we do. Oh, now you got it wrong. And
Yeah.
it's like
And not to
the
mention all
kids don't know
the
what to do.
memorization, the constant bombarding on their brain that they have to do when they go into, school and university. It's just it's terrible what it does
Well,
to them.
look at our doctors in our medical system or even our police. They work 18-hour shifts. They are constantly bombarded and harassed by what they have to learn, by all the trauma and drama. They're supposed to be living a relaxed life so they can give all of their healing power to us. And yet they're not. They are so traumatized themselves. It's like we are constantly on edge. We are constantly thrown off because when we have the time to meditate and get calm and get within ourselves and expand our energy, we're capable of miracles, but nobody knows it. We're in a system right now that keeps us in a state, I call it being milked. We're cows, and whatever this energy is, that draconian energy is, it's just feeding off of us. Before quarantine hit, everybody I knew anyways, were meditating and we were being so psychic and we were really in tune and we were full of this beautiful progressive energy of prosperity and abundance and really tuning into who we were. And then they tried to shut that down and shut down the world. Well, it backfired because we had Zoom and we connected, our energy exploded outwards. So people were even more in themselves, those that could be in a situation that was calm. There are a lot of people who were put in situations that were horrendous and more traumatic. But it's like for those of us that were in this calm, we got to blossom even more. And it was during that time, I thought I would have time off, that I actually built the course that I have, Secrets of the Empowered Empath, which is not on a platform yet, so nobody can buy it yet. But we did it as a 5-day challenge, and then everybody wanted to be a 25-day challenge, and then it became a 25-week thing because we were exploring ourselves so deeply. It was so beautiful. But it was like, we do not know how to be peaceful and tune in. People don't sit and have family meals together very often, okay? And if they do, they rush through it because they're going to hockey or soccer or something else. People sit and watch television, or they sit on their computer. In fact, in the 50s, I remember when TVs came out, they were saying, oh, these are, okay, let me rewind. In the 1924, 25, I have to look it up. The original patent for television was mind control device. Do you know that?
Oh my gosh, no, I didn't. It doesn't surprise me, but no, I didn't know that.
Because they already knew that the waves that the beta waves they put us into sort of dumbed us down into this hypnotic state where we just sat like vegetables and having
Well,
this
I know that's
information
why it's
relayed to
called
us.
programs. You're being programmed literally, but I didn't realize that
Absolutely.
there was a patent on it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And so that was the 1950s. Not every home had a television, but we would go to each other's houses to watch a television show or something. There weren't a lot of shows back then, right? Even when I was a kid, there weren't a lot of kids shows. There was Walt Disney and there was Soupy Sales or something like that. But when we sit in front of the TV, it's like being on drugs. It's like smoking marijuana. All of a sudden you lose all of your motivation to do anything. And you just become this lump that sits there and takes in the information. Hypnotized, hypnotized, hypnotized. Okay. Even our ritual drugs like marijuana and ayahuasca and everything like that, they are now have been bastardized so much that people smoke it all the time to escape their stress. Well, marijuana opens up your senses. Literally, you can see the veins in a plant and the plant breathing and talking to you. So why are we using these ritual drugs to keep ourselves dumbed down? It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. I always say, as soon as in Canada that marijuana became legalized, guys, you lost the war. You didn't win the war. You didn't win anything. They just now dominate you. I mean, if you go through Barrie, there is a marijuana house on every single corner, sometimes two on the same block. And it's like, what's going on here? These are ritual drugs. They were meant to enhance our ability to connect with nature and to connect with God and source energy. And people are using it in this fear-mongered mode to de-stress. Well, it's causing more stress because you're doing it in that low vibration. I don't know if you can, that way, there. I had an artist draw up the rainbow of emotions. I think you've got a chart. And if anybody wants it, they can just contact you and I'll send it off to them. But it's like, it shows the different frequencies. The pain frequencies vibrates at 20. Okay. If you're in constant pain, that means you are in that energy frequency that's lonely, shame, pain, guilt, fear, all of that compression. Okay, so it's like every molecule in your body can be at a different frequency. You can be in joy. Actually, I had frozen shoulder from being in joy. Is that weird or is that weird? Because I was repressing my joy. When I first started the healing, I didn't want to be called a healer. I kept saying to people, no, you're doing the healing. I'm just holding space for you. Well, the more I denied it, the more I locked in my shoulder. The only time my shoulder didn't hurt and it was mobile was when I was actually doing sessions on the massage table. It's not wild because I wasn't allowed to be happy. I wasn't allowed to be proud. I was taught not to show myself off. And here, all of a sudden, I was Barrie's hottest item and I was all over Ontario and I was suddenly international. And it was like, I didn't know what to do with it. Consciously, I thought, this is great. My business is growing and people need me. But on that physical level, my whole body went, you're not supposed to be seen. You're not supposed to be doing what you're doing.
So it did come down to a fear, right? Because I know that's what I had in both of mine, and it's
Yeah.
still not completely
It's
gone.
always fear. Oh, fear always locks us up. We are either in fear or we are in trust. Some people say fear or love. Okay. If we can get into that energy of joy and love and trust that the universe has our back, which we are programmed that it doesn't. Okay. If we can get into that energy, we're in that frequency of energy. It's like a radio vibration that keeps us in the parasympathetic state so that we are unstressed. Well, our society doesn't want us unstressed because
Oh,
if we are unstressed, we can't be controlled.
Exactly. Or if we're not in fear, it's definitely we cannot be controlled. You know, just going back for just a moment to what we were talking about, COVID and that, remember the 6 weeks of the lockdown? I know that a lot of people were going through some terrible times. I'm not denying that, but I'm just for me in my experience, when I had to stop working at the gym because I was like crazy workout addict and teaching so many classes and clients, and I was just so bloody tired for so many years. And when it finally stopped, that was honestly the best 6 weeks of my life.
I kind of
It
went through
was
the
so
same thing.
it was
My
so
mom is
quiet. I would step out, like I had trouble sleeping. I've had trouble sleeping for many, many years. I would go out at usually at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. You think things would be quiet, but not where I was living. I was living in Markham at the time.
Mm.
And there's constantly a hum of something, the train or this thing or whatever. But you could go out and hear a pin drop, even early evening at dusk. Like you could hear it was just so quiet. It was the
I
best
found
6 weeks
birds in the
ever.
backyard would come and look in the window to see if we were still
If
home.
if humans are still alive, yeah. Oh, sorry, that not in bad taste to people who did, lose family members. I'm terribly sorry that that happened, but
For
everybody's
me, it was the same. My mom was early 90s at that point, and I was driving her every day to some seniors event somewhere. She was in two choirs, she was in two exercise classes, she was in current events. She was, I don't know, every day of the week, we were like 7 days a week, we were going somewhere. And when COVID hit and everything was shut down, I suddenly had like 4 or 6 extra hours to my day. And it was bliss. I'm a very calm person. I do meditate with my clients and everything like that. So I'm in this state of, I have low blood pressure all the time. The doctors wonder how I'm even standing, but it's like I don't have that stress thing. But when that calmed down, it was like, holy cow. Oh, this is heaven. I loved it. It was, and I'm lucky I live with my family unit, so we're best of friends. So it was really, really good for us. But it was like having when the power goes out. Have you ever noticed that? The power goes out, there's no electricity or hum in the house, and all of a sudden body just goes, ah.
Yeah, and no Wi-Fi either. So yeah,
It
it's
was
great.
wonderful. Yeah, I love Wi-Fi, but I don't love Wi-Fi at the
Yeah,
same time.
same, same. Okay, let's go back to the empaths. And I just to clarify between being codependent though, because people do tend to use that term interchangeably. And I know it's not meant to, but
They do, and I think they misuse the term as well, because in olden days, we had to be codependent. The family had to rely on each other to work the fields, to get the water, to churn the butter, to watch the animals, to do everything it had to do. And they make it sound like a bad thing. To me, that was just organization and cooperation.
but maybe that was more interdependence, right? That was more of an
Maybe,
interdependent.
yeah, yeah.
Whereas
Okay.
codependent, and when
But
they
codependent is when somebody relies on somebody else and is pretty much a succubus draining their energy.
yeah, and not just relying on, yes, absolutely, not just relying on other people's energy to do stuff or other people to do stuff, but also not knowing where you end and where others begin.
But you know, we start life that way. When we're born in alpha waves and delta waves. And we are totally reliant on our parents. They say that we don't know from the time we're in the womb until we're about 2.5, 3 years old that we are separate from our parents. That's when the terrible twos happen and children start identifying, and we say, your name is Tommy. This is Tommy's toy. Don't touch Julie's toy. And we start separating that identity. Um, I look at psychiatry and everything with a totally jaded point of view, and terms like codependent and things like that bother me as well, because they're lumping everybody into some sort of a generalization. So most empaths, it's different. Most empaths are trying to separate themselves from other people's energy. So they haven't learned the discernment. So I wouldn't even lump the codependent and empath thing together, because it's totally different behaviors, really. Um,
Okay, well then let's talk about that, the discernment, because that would be part of the protection. That was one of my next question to you is what are some of the myths of protection and how can we actually protect ourselves? So
the
discernment is,
biggest myth of protection is put a bubble around yourself
yeah.
and separate yourself from the negativity.
Yeah, explain why, please.
Okay. When we put a bubble around ourselves, we're doing it from a place of fear. Fear has a certain energy frequency. They say, I don't know, I can't remember if it's 100 or whatever. That energy frequency condenses our energy field and makes it more solid. Okay, so now we've compressed our energy field. We've made ourselves more solid. What we should be doing is the total opposite and expanding out and make ourselves brighter. Okay, so when you look at a light bulb, if I dim the light bulb and shrink it and put the casing around it, the shadow energy can come in and take over. If we make that light bulb into a 100-watt light bulb, the shadow energy has to retreat. Everybody is afraid of the shadow. It's just a lack of light. So if we become the light, we can open that up. Different analogy. I have a ceiling light up there. The ceiling light has 2 light bulbs in it. If I took those light bulbs apart, one of the light bulbs, I took the glass casing off, you would see 2 little filaments. I don't know if you can see it.
Yep.
Okay, they're tiny little wires. They don't even touch. But when we run electricity, life force energy through it, they spark. Okay, it's a tiny little spark. So to enhance that spark, we put this glass globe around it. It's round. And because it's round, it expands that light out and expands it out. So if we up the wattage from 25 watts to 40 watts to 60 watts to 100 watts, it gets brighter and brighter and brighter. The brighter it is, and if I were to put a decorative lampshade around that, it would cast off the shadows even more. So the shadow isn't negative, it's not bad, it's just not the frequency of energy that you were vibrating in. It's like a radio wave. It's like hearing country western as opposed to heavy metal. I don't like heavy metal music. I can't even breathe. My heart can't beat with heavy metal music. My son loves trance, and it's like I hold my breath when that's on. Okay, but I can listen to Taylor Swift or something. That's calmer. I prefer meditative music. Okay, I love yoga music. I love the tinkle music that I used to use in Reiki. To me, that just flows through my body, and my body can relax, and I'm in parasympathetic mood, and all of my emotions and stresses go away. Trance or rap music is angry music. Okay,
Yes.
stomp your feet and hit your fist. And some people have that energy in them that they are not dealing with. So they need to transmute that and get that out. But you can also embed it in your body so that it's constantly there, so that you're constantly angry. So
100%.
as an empath, we pick up the emotions and feelings of people around us. We pick up the frequency resonances, sound resonances, just from the fridge humming and things like that that can irritate us. All of these things have frequencies. We have to look at ourselves more as frequency or music than we do solid. Okay, our fingers and hands are solid because they're vibrating slowly, but the energy is moving through me constantly. When people have anxiety, that energy wants to go somewhere. It's not saying that there's something bad or you're going to have a heart attack. It's saying that your body is trying to gather energy to take action, to do something, and people stifle it down. And then they stifle it down, and then they want to take a pill or something to stifle it down even more. That energy has to move. It's life force energy. It needs to go somewhere.
Right. But how, okay, so going back to this, the analogy of the light bulb, for example, how are you protected if you're expanding your light? How are you
You
going to
don't
get
need
rid
to
of,
be protected.
you
Why
don't
do
have
you
to,
need to be protected? You need to expand out and the shadow creeps away. Okay. You yell at a bear that is hungry and wants the I don't know, the fruit bar in your knapsack. You yell at the bear, he's going to walk away. If I get bigger and louder, the negative energy goes away. If I shrink and go, oh God, I'm so afraid. Well, it can pounce on me. It's like a cat jumping on a mouse. Okay. If that mouse were to get bigger,
well, okay, okay, different scenario then. Let's say, okay, I'm going to use my example because I still have not received an answer every time I ask this question. When I used to be the group exercise director at this club, it was my job. I would get paid to, teach classes and then also go around and talk to the members. And after I've taught 2 or 3 classes in a row, like I'm already tired, so I have very little energy to talk to people, but I try and put my best game face on and everything is going fine for the first little while. But when I've already told them I have to go, I have to be somewhere else to teach another class, and they keep talking and talking, it's a very sudden whoosh drain of energy, like that. There's
because
no
you're talking to a vampire. If they don't let you go, then there's something in them that is draining your energy. They want you to stay.
okay. So then in
They've
that case,
attached onto you like a light bulb, and they're
yeah.
drinking your energy, but you're already in a depleted state.
Being
So
tired
you're
after
walking
teaching.
around tired and depleted, and you can't be in charge of your own sovereign energy.
So then I wouldn't need protection in that. That's not the same thing.
You would need to get bigger. You would, before you start talking to everybody, you should go off somewhere, get some sunlight, have something to eat, and boost your own energy field, because you don't have the energy to expand out. You've
Okay.
already used it up. Your battery is empty. So if your battery is empty, you need to find a way to recharge. I
Okay.
go recharge in quiet. I would go sit in my car and have lunch in my car, or sit on the hood of my car getting some sunlight in or something like that before I go and talk to the other people.
Okay.
I
Well,
was,
then what about the example of narcissists then?
oh, but they can tell when you're depleted, and they do not attract, they do not know how to attach to source energy. They get their energy from you. If you're a bright light, you have no discernment for some reason, whatever it is, that allows them to hook onto you. And usually it's love bombing. Okay, they will love bomb you. They reflect, well, you know all about light power imagers and that kind of thing. That's what they're doing. They're reflecting your light onto them with their false mirror so that you fall in love with yourself. So everywhere that you're not in love with yourself, or you don't appreciate yourself, or you aren't sovereign in it's not, it has nothing to do with confidence. It has to do with this energy of, I know who I am, I know my own being. They reflect that back, you fall in love with them. Well, they can't keep that up. They cannot hold on to that energy and keep that face forward for you. Besides, that's not their intention. Their intention is for you to put down your guard, so to speak, and let them dive in, which they do with sex or whatever. So
Mhm.
yeah, narcissists are a huge, huge topic.
Yeah.
I was,
And we tend to fall in love with their potential, but really what we're seeing is our own potential.
yes,
Yeah.
and they don't have
Int-
potential.
Yeah.
Never fall in love with somebody's potential, because they don't see it, they can't grow into it. We see what we would love for them, and yeah, they can't measure up, not ever,
Mhm.
not ever. And it's not their fault. It's just they don't have it. They have to go on to that. When you're depleted, your energy is depleted, they will move on to somebody else and suck them dry. And if you've revived yourself, oh, they might try and come back. But it's like, yeah, they will keep searching. And I remember in my body talk practice, there is something called the vanishing twin. So quite often we have several eggs that are fertilized at one time. And when they are all in the egg sac together, we're very empathic. And some of those will leave, okay, because usually there's room for one. And the empathic egg will say, oh my God, I killed those three, or they left me, or try to find that bonded energy that they had in the womb with other humans. And we don't find that. But a narcissist is the sole egg in the egg sac. It doesn't have that bonding capability. It doesn't feel connected to source. So it's like, I always look at it as, that's interesting.
Wow, that is a really interesting way to look at that. Fascinating.
So yeah, is that something they chose? Is that something that they have repeated lifetime after lifetime? We've all been here for many incarnations. The soul is always examining new experiences, and we operate in soul clusters. I know you and I have been in the same soul cluster many, many, many times, you know. So it's like, I don't have all the answers. I just know that when we clear our own energy field and have that discernment, then our energy can get bigger. Okay, you were trying to operate in a system that was already depleting you, and you didn't have the resources. You were in this narcissistic relationship with somebody who was already drinking you dry. So for me to say expand your light, you're going, how do I do that? I'm on empty. I'm dark. But the way that I do it with my clients is we literally go through that rainbow of emotions and start clearing out all of the emotions, asking the body, not the head, what frequencies are vibrating in the body right now. And it's easiest if somebody says, oh, I have a frozen shoulder, or oh, my back hurts. So we start there. Okay, we can expand out. But it's like, if we can go through clearing the energy, well, you said, I see their potential of wanting them to be different, of wanting them to grow into who you see them being. If we can let go of that wanting energy, which is the lowest frequency above death, that wanting and waiting energy, there's no energy there. Literally, when we're waiting for something to change, we hold our breath until we turn blue, until we hear from them, or until something changes. And it's like we're in this stasis of non-existence in that energy, and we lock our body into that in many different places. Okay, how do I explain that differently? Okay, I I want to fall in love. I want to fall. I really love to be in love. I have this idea of what love looks like, and I want to be in love. That wanting energy is preventing me from having any kind of relationship whatsoever. Okay. That wanting energy is like a brick wall that puts this here. And no matter how much I want, and that's what's, oh, now this is okay. That's what's wrong with this law of attraction stuff. Just want it big enough, just want it hard enough. Stop wanting. Let go of the attachment. The wanting prevents you from having. So, up at the top of the scale, I have to go this way. You can see there's a red balloon up there. And that red balloon feels light and it's expanding energy flow, and it's all about empowerment and enhancing your intuition. Okay. There's a dark rain cloud at the bottom end over there. That dark rain cloud is where you contract the energy into fear. Okay. I need
You
to
mind
protect
bringing that
myself.
in front of the camera just for a moment
Sure.
and take a look?
I should have put it on the screen. There we go. So there we go. That's that dark, heavy feeling when we're depressed, when we're anxious, when we're not getting what we want. Wanting is down here. Having energy is up here. Okay. I want to be safe. Well, it means you're not safe. Now, how do you go to feeling safe? You can't, it's a big leap. It's a lot of steps to go through. So yeah. What we do is literally, I start asking the body in different sections, like, where do you want safety? What do you want safety from? When did you not have safety? And it always starts in the womb. It always goes way back, or to a previous lifetime. It could be in school. You know, the teacher wouldn't let me go to the bathroom when I had to go pee. I was afraid I was going to pee my pants. It could be something that small, but to a child is that big. And then this person has incontinent issues out their whole life. Okay. Take that old memory away, let the body go, I know how to control all of this, and boom, their incontinence issues are gone. It could be that easy. And sometimes it's more difficult than that. Or
Just
like we
being
came
able
up with
to,
you. The names hold energy. Names are frequency. They go back through history. Who did they name you after? And what is their energy that's there that we need to clear? Was it someone who was always apathetic and felt that life was out of control and that no matter what they did, there was no use? Well, that's a defeatist energy that's really hard to shake, right?
Mhm.
Or was it somebody who was angry all the time and fighting for her rights and wanting to change the world? that would be me, right? And seeing the potential in the world and wanting to get there. And how come the humans aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing?
Exactly. Yeah. Just for the viewers who weren't part of that conversation, because we were talking before we started, was we are just talking about some of the difficulties that I've had over the last, well, my whole life, but namely the last couple of years, things have changed so much. So Jessy had tapped into something about my name. So we were talking about my first name, but I also had mentioned that my last name, Jivraj, means life and king. So long live the king, or, long live royalty, whatever the case may be. And then you said, Jessy, you said something very interesting about that.
What did I say? I don't remember. Something that how many
Yeah,
people wanted to kill the king or take over the throne, or how many people did the king have to kill or
yeah.
execute? So that there's people call it karma, but there's energy frequencies attached to that. There's dust bunnies, and we need to clean up the dust bunnies because every generation inherits the dust bunnies from all the previous, like all the previous generations. And that's where it starts getting mucky because we're going, I should be having a great life. My life isn't difficult. I'm not in a war. I'm not in famine. I'm not starving to death. And it's like, why is all this chaos around me? But because we are energetic beings and our DNA has all of this storage, and we need to go through cleaning up the files. And we are lucky, many of us, I would say I'm lucky that I have been able to follow the esoteric practices and to learn body talk and NLP and EFT. And I've done pretty much everything. I've more than 40 modalities because my journey to wellness was going through all this stuff.
Mhm.
And then I would share it with my clients. I never intended to share it with clients. People wanted to be clients for some reason. I don't get it. They'd always say, I want a piece of that. I want a piece of that. And it's like, okay, I am naturally happy. I'm at the point now that I'm 70 that I'm stupidly happy. And there's still chaos going around me. And I don't think I look my age. People always tell me I look 50, not 70. I don't have gray hair yet. I can't prove how smart I am. But I think it's because empathically and energetically and psychically, I was able to clean my energy field.
So let's talk
Don't
about
do
that more. How are you doing that? And if you're not comfortable with the word protection, or you don't feel that it's protection, explain to the viewers how they can replenish their energy so they have more to, put up with the crap. You know?
Yeah, it's hard to, it's easier to do with someone who has no attachment to you and who can clearly work with the body. Because I'm so empathic, I don't shake hands with a lot of people. I don't hug a lot of people. I don't want to read their story and get involved in their baggage. I don't want their dust bunnies on me. So in that way, I guess I protect myself, but it's more of a, I don't want to give readings when they haven't asked me to do a reading. Does that make sense? I don't want to tap into their energy field and go, oh my God, I can see that you've got some anger in there and that we can clear it up, and you have these feelings of lack of self-worth. Like that is just creepy. So it's more for their boundaries and their protection than for mine. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
We are all empathic beings. We can feel what somebody is going through, and we have learned to close ourselves off for it. It's about learning to open ourselves up to it again and not have to do anything about it. So let me go. When my daughter was 3 or 4, I remember an incident. We went through the IGA and this woman was limping. And my daughter pretty much jumped out of the shopping cart, ran up to the woman, put her hands on this woman's hip, and wanted to take the woman's pain away. And I went into, Laura, you don't touch strangers. And the woman went, what is she doing? But when the woman walked away, she was no longer limping. And my daughter was as white as a ghost. The bags under her eyes were blue, and she slept for 3 days.
Oh my goodness.
That's why I had to learn, what is this little girl doing? Because I'd managed my own energy in some way. I'd gotten rid of the narcissistic husband who was draining me or whatever. But it was all a lesson. I had to find out how to heal this child when doctors couldn't. They literally said to me, she's not going to live through the year. She has failure to thrive. She's going to die. Prepare yourself. And I'm going, not happening, not on my watch.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And it was the same year that my mother's doctor put his arm around me and said, Jessy, you better make funeral preparations. Your mother's not going to live through the year. She was on a whole cornucopia of medications and things. She had angina, which was a broken heart from my brother moving to California. She had arthritis, which was so much anger and resentment, literally crippling her. My mother could not hold a fork or a pen. She had to put it in her fingers like that in order to feed herself because she could no longer do this. Now at 98, my mother can sit there and sew and do fine needlepoint. So when we are in pain, when we are being crippled by contracted energy and lack of energy flow, there's a lot of psychic stuff going on. We don't need to clear off demons and things necessarily, although sometimes we do. Because most of the time, it's the way we're responding to our environment and trying to shrink and trying to shrink and trying to shrink. I said that we are empathic as children and that we start separating, this is mommy's energy, this is my energy kind of thing. But then we want to control how mommy responds, because as we separate, we don't feel as loved anymore because we're not feeling a part of them. So we want to feel more loved. And we realize that to feel more loved, we want their approval. And if mommy's mad at me, oh my God, I feel shattered and like I've been bombed. So it's like, oh, I want their approval. So then you start modulating your behavior or trying to manipulate their behavior. A narcissist will manipulate your behavior, whereas most empaths try to change ourselves to fit into what would they approve of? What would they love? Where would they appreciate me kind of thing? So this controlling is part of the shrinking of the energy. Literally, we bend ourselves into these weird contortions and go, do you love me yet? And this is what we need to let go of. When we're in pain, we got to find out where we have conformed ourselves into such a detrimental way that the life force energy isn't flowing through us. And that's about learning to expand. And meditation can help us do that in so many ways. Reiki energy can help us do that. To clear the mind, NLP is powerful to see how we interpret words and things like that. EFT, which is meridian tapping on all of the different meridian points, that's huge. And people go, well, I don't understand what it's doing, but you don't have to understand. The mind isn't involved here. Literally, by tapping on your own energy field and all of these acupuncture points, you are starting to shift energy. How you digested the information that you went through, how you're working through a trauma. And so there's all of these tools, they all work. But people want one tool to work on everything. And it's like, no, I have to take a bus sometimes, and sometimes I take a taxi, and sometimes I get in my own car, and sometimes I go for a walk, and sometimes I take a bicycle. They're all getting me to a destination, but they're all different ways of getting me there.
Mhm.
So back to being an empath, how do we clean our own energy field? It's about noticing when you're angry. Literally noticing if you're angry. And a lot of times you go, I don't know why I'm angry. I shouldn't feel this way. Well, you just picked up somebody else's angry. So if you put one hand on your heart and the other hand on your belly and start breathing, that's you dropping out of, like, calming your own sympathetic nervous system. And then you can ask your body, is that anger mine? What a weird question to ask. Your head's going to go, of course it's mine. I feel it in my head. And the body's going, no, it's not really yours. And it's like, well, if it's not mine, most people go, whose is it? I need to know the story. And we don't want to know the story. You just go, oh, well, could I let it go? And it's like saying, okay, I'm holding this glass of water. Could I let it go? For sure I could. Gravity works, right? Boom. I'll have a smash glass with water all over my feet. And it's like, so the next question is, I could let it go. Would I let it go? Well, no, I'm not going to. I don't want cut glass on my feet. I don't want my carpets wet. I don't want the glass to be smashed. So I've got reasons why I'm not letting this emotion of whatever it is go. So when you ask the body, could I let it go? It's going to give you an answer. Usually it's, yeah, I could, sure. And then I'll say, well, would you let it go? And the body's going to go, oh, no, 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 no. And then people usually get really, well, why is my body not letting it go? You know, and it's not about that. It's what is it hooked onto? What conditions need to be met in order for it to be safe to unravel this? And how is it going to affect the other things in your body? Because it's all energy. It's like this big giant Brillo pad. So if you ask, is it mine? Could I let it go? Would I let it go? We've got the beginning of the body working with us to let go of an old frequency. It's like saying, I don't like watching sports on TV. I'm going to change the channel. So this is a way of changing the channel. And then I also learned to ask, could we let it go now? Because the body goes, no, I'll do it later. I'll do it when we're not in the session. I'll do it 10 years from now, whatever. And it's like, what do you need from us to hold space for you so that it's safe, so that you have choice, so that you feel back in part of all that is one instead of feeling so alone and afraid, because it's all about fear, right? And it's so interesting when we can start doing that for all the emotions, for anger, sadness, fear, hurt, grief, guilt, shame, blame, apathy. I don't know, give me some more emotions here. There are so many different frequencies of emotions.
Yeah, but why? So let's go back for a second, because I've asked you this question
Yeah.
before, trying to understand my own healing. Why does the body sometimes hold on to these things? I know some of it is to feel safe, because if they let
Because it
go
doesn't
of
know it can
that,
let go, because you've never asked it, could I let it go? It thinks it needs this for some future event. And I will ask the body that too. Why are you holding on to this? And often it's, well, so I never have to feel this pain again. So I never get involved with a narcissist again. And it's like, do you know that by holding on to that frequency, you're just attracting more of them? And the body go, well, no, that's not true. And I do all of this through muscle testing. So there isn't a lot of dialogue this way, but it's so fascinating. And it's like, well, okay, then could you let go of wanting to never have this experience again? Again, that wanting thing, right? And the body go, yeah, maybe. Convince me. And it's like, could you let go of trying to figure this out? Because then you know the head's involved. The head wants to like you said, I want to understand it. And it's like, no, we want to just let the energy flow.
Mm-hmm.
By trying to understand it literally, if I want to understand what's on this paper, but I've made it so tight and so whatever, I can't see the words, and I need to make it bigger in order to understand it. Does that make sense? It's
Yeah,
like,
and look at how more invested you are in trying to figure out what it is. Now you're stuck
that's
in
it.
that energy.
That's it. So it's like we don't go into a marriage thinking I'm going to prevent divorce. We go into a marriage because we're in this energy of joy and we're feeling love and we want to go through it. We don't, give me another analogy here. Um, we live in a society right now that puts a label on every single disease out there. Okay. And everything is a disease. Everything is wrong with you. And if I were to say out of the 20,000 diseases that are out there, I want to prevent all of them, I would spend all of my time focusing on illness instead of being in wellness.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what they've got us doing. That's what they have targeted our minds on. Commercials. Take this pill if you have a headache. Oh, but one of the side effects is headache. It's like, so people are constantly now on this hamster wheel of trying to prevent disease and illness and pain,
Mm-hmm.
instead of just going about our lives in the frequency that is way above fear of being in joy and being in happiness and being expansive and being in inspiration. They take the inspiration out of us. When we're kids, paint the tree green. It's green and the bark is brown. Well, no, there are bark out there that's gray and that's speckled and that's mottled and some is smooth, and it's like the leaves are green. Well, which shade of green? They've taken the word isn't imagination. The word
Creativity.
is the
Creativity.
ability to create. Yes. They have dumbed everybody down so they think they can't create.
Mm-hmm.
And when we can't create because we are natural creative beings, we lose our inspiration for life. We feel like there is no hope in living. We feel, I mean, guys can't even work on dink on top cars anymore. They love the mechanical stuff. It's all computerized. Don't
Right.
start your
Yeah.
car. So they don't have that stress outlet they used to. No, they go to computer games and everything now, which gives you a dopamine hit that creates a whole avalanche of other hormonal problems in the body.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Off topic, but when we are in fear, we're worried. Worry is a disease. Okay, I look at worry as a disease. You can worry about those 20,000 different diseases out there, all those scenarios of what could go wrong, or you can go, it's a possibility, but I'm changing the channel to just being in joy, just living my life, to breathing, to working in my garden, to doing a job that I love. It's like my bookkeeper said, "Why aren't you retired?" And I'm going, "Why would I retire? I don't get it. Retire from what? I'm having fun. Why would I retire? What am I supposed to do? Sit in a
Right.
rocking
You don't
chair?"
have one of those jobs, those 9 to 5 crap jobs that, take away so much of your energy, right? And
No,
you're
my
like,
job is 24/7 because my clients are all over the world in Dubai and who
yeah,
knows.
yeah.
But
I
it's
just
like,
want to mention though that just to go back for just a moment for the
yeah,
viewers who may be in touch with you, you have this unbelievable knack of tapping into things that I mean, I don't even know where you get it from. You have this way of tapping into things and asking the questions that are so brilliant that we would have never been able to like think about it on a mental plane. I don't know. Anyway, you're very talented, Jessy, and I want to tell you how much I appreciate your authenticity, your wisdom, and the way that you articulate. Um, because it sends me so many ahas in my head, and I don't always get that from different people work in different ways, but with you, it's always a freaking aha that
but
goes.
the question is what moves energy. Answers make energy stuck. There's this rule, and I have to do that. And oh, don't eat eggs, too many eggs or this. And oh, I don't know, give me something else. All these bullshit rules that we make up, we either spend all our time dancing around them, trying to prove they're true, or we dance around them trying to prove they're not true. So again, we're distracted and we're not being our authentic self. So when I ask, oh, is this opinion even mine? Oh, and it starts getting wobbly. Well, could I let it go? Would I let it go? What was I thinking about? I know I was fixing something, but it doesn't seem to be there. The energy's going, well, what about this one? So if I ask the questions these stuck answers, which aren't always truth, they're just bullshit rules, these disappear. When that has disappeared, my energy can flow. So any question I ask vibrates the molecules, lets the DNA change, lets the atoms and everything rearrange themselves in a new way in my body. That's what I talk about, letting go of energy. So as an empath, you can feel somebody else's energy, but because we feel it in our body or hear it in our head, we go, oh, this is mine. Why do I feel anxious? Why do I feel horrified? Why am I hesitating? And it's like, no, is that energy yours? And the body will just go, no, it's theirs. Great. So now I know what energy state they're in. And for me, yeah, maybe I am a little different than others, or maybe I've just been doing it longer. I mean, I am 70. Reading somebody else's energy doesn't mean I have to fix it. It also means, and what most people, empaths will do, okay, here, empaths will shrink their energy to empathize with them and feel what they're feeling. Because we think if we feel what they're feeling, we will understand it. So now we're under the bridge, in the tunnel, we're drowning in those
Yeah.
energies.
But how do we
And
not do
it's like,
that?
hmm?
How do we not do that though?
You just notice that, oh, I don't have to do that. Literally, you stand and go, oh, it's not mine. I don't need to shrink into their level. I need to expand more. If I want them to be happy, I need to get happier. So you laugh, or you, I don't know, stomp your feet, or you snap your fingers, or you say, hey, let's go for a walk. Whatever it is, you do not dive into their energy because you both will drown.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You notice that that's theirs, and we get bigger. Because
Okay.
if I get bigger, I can be stronger, and I can help. I can give them a hand, literally, and pull them out of the slump that they're in.
Okay. So what about people who talk about cutting cords after you're in, conversation with certain people, and where are you going
Okay.
to stand with that?
Have we done this, you and I? You only cut cords up.
Yeah. Well, I saw one of your videos that said that you only cut upwards.
Okay.
So it's
I learned that the hard way, because I was cutting cords, and they would latch on even bigger and more cords. It was like a big spider web. And one day I had a client here, and we were cutting cords for her, again, a narcissistic ex. And for some reason I cut up, and we were doing it. She wasn't used to energy work. So we had the arm out like this, and we were muscle testing. And when I cut the cord down, she had no energy. Literally her body collapsed. And I went, wait a second. And I cut the cord the other way. And that's how that video actually happened. It was just right here during a session. We cut the cord up, and she was strong, and she was sovereign, and her energy was hers. It's, think of it like a zipper. If we cut up, we're doing up the zipper from our overcoat, so the whatever can't latch onto us. If we cut down, we just exposed our innards. We've
Oh,
done
well, that
hairy
makes sense
Gary.
because in Reiki level 3, when you're teaching it to other people, you have to literally zip their aura open to put in the symbols, and then you zip it back up. So, that,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Does that make sense? So yeah,
Yeah.
we have to, there are so much misinformation out there. And I would think it's been done on purpose. Okay.
Yes.
When your body feels foreboding for something, like if you're walking and you're going to go down a dark alley and the hair stands on the back of your neck, and your body goes, oh, don't do this, don't push forward. Just go, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm going to go a different direction. Okay.
100%.
Take a bus. I'm going to call a taxi, whatever. It doesn't mean stop going towards your target or home. It just means choose a different direction. And this is the stuff we have to start listening to all the time. The head's going to go, why'd you just do that? You don't see anything in the alley. There's nobody standing there waiting to mug you. Don't know if they are or not. Might be a rat, might be a mosquito that wants to bite me. I don't care what it is. My instinct says go the other way.
Well, as
Still going
empaths,
towards my target.
we've been conditioned not to trust ourselves. So we have to work so many years to unlearn all of that crap and start.
Well, that's it. It's about unlearning who you really are instead of who you're pretending to be. We all try to conform. It's like the autistic kids. They find so many different ways of conforming into it. And I'm sure in a couple of years, they're going to say all empaths are autistic. Well, great. I love being on the spectrum if that's what you're going to call me. Okay. I call me ADHD because I can do a million things at once. I cannot sit still and do anything except maybe meditate. And I meditate only when I'm working on other people's bodies. I don't sit there and go, If I'm meditating, I do my things on the T-zone. My hands are moving. My meditations are very fluid and movement oriented. And it's because all my cells are full of this information. And when we move, that information goes through the whole body.
Yes.
I don't necessarily believe we're supposed to be sitting there chanting. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, I
Yeah.
cannot sit still.
I mean, for a certain period of time, sure. But I do believe like, and some people are more responsive to movement. Like I know I am for sure, whether
The
it's,
human body was made to move.
yeah.
That's how your lymphatic system moves through it. That's how your heart pumps. That's how your blood moves. That's how the information goes through. When I'm sitting and teaching kids, and I love teaching kids, if they aren't flicking their legs and hopping and tapping and things like that, I know they're not listening. As soon as a kid's sitting like this, looking out the window, I've lost them. Okay, because our brain is not what's storing the information. That's the retrieval system. That is the archive, if you want to look at it that way. All of the information is throughout every cell in our body. Your skin is like cat's whiskers. Your skin can feel other people's energy. It's not a joke to say your hair stands on end.
Yeah.
Literally, it does. Okay. They've done studies with women and children. Why does a woman, when her child has an earache, put her hand on the child's ear? Okay, it's not stopping a draft. It's what are we doing? But the MRI shows that the woman's hand lights up like 10 free games on a pinball machine. And as she brings it closer to the child's ear, their ear lights up, and it's like putting the plug into a wall and it fits. And then the energy goes up and down the spine, repairing the immune system.
Love it. I know mothers just know intuitively,
We
intuitively,
do, and we laugh at women's intuition. Well,
right?
men
Yeah.
have intuition too. Men are soldiers, they're policemen, they're firemen, they are in the wars, they are businessmen. The successful ones use their intuition. They just don't call it intuition. We vibrate, and it's about us learning what the different vibrations are, where we're comfortable and where we're not comfortable. I don't like using the word, this is positive energy, this is negative energy. Okay. Positive energy means it's energy that vibes with me and it feels good. Negative energy means it's at a lower frequency and doesn't feel so good. But if I call it bad energy or negative energy, my head then has compartmentalized it and started with the fear. So it's just energy that vibes with me or energy that doesn't. Can I bring that energy up to a frequency that fits, or do I just let it go? I'm not going to wear a sweater that's too small for me. Why would I dive into somebody else's pain? So when I'm helping a client with pain, I'm not feeling their pain anymore. I used to walk away limping, and they'd skip down the stairs and go home and tell their husband it was better than having an orgasm. And I'd be walking around crippled for days like my daughter did. And now I'm going, okay, this is the energy frequency. I get bigger and I give them the opportunity of rising up to meet my energy. And when you meet my energy, you're not in pain.
It really can be that simple too. If we complicate things with our head, right? And
It's
then
our
we,
head.
yeah,
Our
put
head
them in
loves
too much.
stories.
Yeah.
Your head loves to create drama to
Mhm.
entertain you, but it's not funny anymore.
Definitely not. I'm done
Yeah.
with this too. I'm very, very tired. So listen, we're almost out of time. So there was a couple more questions I want to ask. The first one is, why do empaths feel like the black sheep? Why are we really here? Like there's
Because we're not following the bullshit rules of our family. And our
right.
family made those rules to survive because they were also empaths, but they were taught to be very regimented or very strict or follow the rules, or they were ostracized. Okay. The black sheep nowadays, we don't care. Kick me out of the family. It's okay. I will build a new family. I am creating a new world. I cannot live in that old system. But it's that old system that made people sick. It's that old system that caused them pain. It caused premature aging. Okay. It shortened the longevity. So we have life force energy coming in all the time. We never disconnect from it unless we shrink ourselves. And we shrink ourselves by trying to conform to somebody else's rules about how we should behave. Well,
Yes,
that's very
exactly.
interesting, because once we've conformed to what we think they want us to be, they don't love us the way we are anyways, because they loved us for being who we were.
Mhm. And it's never enough anyway. Even if you try to be what they want, there's always going to be more, some other expectation, some other way of thinking. It never ends. So I know I was a definite black sheep in my family, and a lot of people hate me for it, but I don't care. I wear it as a medal now. I'm out of that psychosis. So
I'm not in that either. I have dropped family members over the years over and over. If you don't want me to grow, I can't be there. Don't put me in a shoebox.
yeah,
And I have
exactly.
discovered such joy and an amazing beauty in life. Like my curiosity is never satiated because there's always more to learn, you know, learning the Aramaic. Who knew that was possible? It wasn't possible 30 or 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And now we can learn that online. And it's like, okay, that when I was a kid, I wanted to learn. I started to meditate. I think I was 18, 19. I was taking the Silva method for brain control, right? And he didn't call it meditation back then. I don't think that word had been invented yet. But it was like, it also got me so interested in religion because I'd been excommunicated when I was 12 for asking too many questions. I went to the Protestant church. I went to the Anglican church. I was looking for home. Okay. Where can I talk to God the way I see God? And it wasn't in a church. In fact, from my mom, who's 98, mom's been having terrible, terrible nightmares at night, literally throwing pillows around, screaming, God, where are you? I can't find you. I want to go home. So we called the church and I asked my minister. Mom belongs to oh, it's not ecumenical. It's kind of like ecumenical. I can't remember the name of the religion. They're very open-minded. Our priest, our minister is a woman, so I love it. Well, she came to the house and she gave my mother communion at the house. And she said, I know that you're used to coming to the church as your sanctuary to see God, but your home is your sanctuary as well. So we're going to break the bread and we're going to have the wine here. And she made it into a lovely ceremony. My mother was so happy. She has been sleeping so well because she knows that God hasn't forsaken her, hasn't ignored her. It's just not her time yet. And she's going, but I'm 98. Why am I here? And I'm going, I don't know, Mom. Why are you
Beautiful.
still here? But I said, you did say once that you wanted to be 100 years old. So do you want to
Oh,
hang on for 2 years? It was a joke. She'd seen a psychic about me and I was going to live to be 121 or something. And it was like, okay. And she said, well, I'm going to be 100. And I'm like, okay, great. Who cares?
there
But
you
it's,
go.
it's
Words
like,
are powerful. Words are very
words
powerful.
are powerful. And it's like,
Mhm.
do you want to rescind that contract? You don't have to stay. Like, she goes, no, life is good. It's just the way it is. But she can't do it. She can't be in the garden, you know. And she doesn't like being in diapers. She does not like being incontinent. It
Okay,
still hurts her pride.
for
And
sure.
it's like,
But you make life interesting. It would be fun to live with you. So okay, look, so we have
oh,
time for
kind of
just one
cool.
more question, okay?
Yes,
Going back to empaths and why are they so attracted to narcissists? What is going on there?
because we love so greatly and we see someone who doesn't have love. I think on some level we notice that they're a dark cloud and we want to fill them up because we can. Except they are a bottomless pit. And then they try to change us. Or maybe it's because you see the potential in them. Or maybe it's because they love bombed you and you didn't love yourself enough or don't see that. There's so many different ways of coming about it, but it's fascinating to me how they make us doubt ourselves. And part of that is because as kids, we were doubted. Don't be empathic. Don't feel this. Think this way.
Mhm.
And I think that's what they prey on. So
Oh yeah,
maybe
the
it's part of our
gaslighting is
discernment,
endless.
because
Gaslighting is
we
endless. Yeah.
we haven't cleared our own energy field at
Mhm.
that point. If we've attracted someone into our life like that, they are exposing to us something that we need to work on. Except our society makes us project love onto somebody else as if they're an object. I'm in love with so and so. Really? You're in love with the feeling of being in love. We get that feeling from us, not from them. They may have put a little spark there, but it's like the way we have been taught to want a partner or want to be loved by somebody, I think that's a distraction as well. Because in olden days, people had a big community. So we got love, all different kinds of love, small directions. If I had my way, I'd have a guy who cooked really, really well. I'd have a guy who liked to clean the house. I'd have somebody who was super good, in bed. What else would I want? Somebody who wants to go hiking and stuff with me. So I can't get that out of one person, but we project this onto one person. They seem to be everything we want. We fall for the nonsense and then we're hooked in. right? And because we saw that little glimmer of whatever it was in them that we wanted from those 7 personalities we really want, we think, oh, well, if I just do this, we go in the old pattern. I'll change my behavior to get more of that. And then
Yes.
we get another glimmer of that. And we're always hooked on to the next sweet. And it's like, yeah, we have to recognize that no, they don't have to be everything for us. This is very interesting, but the love comes from in here. We never know how much somebody else loves us. We don't feel that. We feel how much we are filled up with love, but we fill our own cup. They don't fill our cup.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what's wrong. Society has us thinking that, oh, I need a man to complete me. No, we
No, that's
don't.
the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I've never been able to understand that. Yeah.
But all the stories do it. Cinderella, Snow White, everything. Wear the beautiful ball gown. My daughter and I laugh. We were models for wedding gowns and things. And I don't know if it was our 5th or 6th show. And my daughter finally said, you know what? I've had enough. I don't care how much they pay me. I'm not doing this anymore. And I said, why? She goes, because they have to lace us into these dresses and they have to lace us out of these dresses. They are prisons. They are prisons so the woman can't run away from being forced to marry somebody she doesn't want to marry. They make her look like a princess, but we're not a princess. We can't even get out of the dress ourselves. We have to wear these stupid high heels. You can't run away in these dresses. And I went, wow. Like it hit me like, yeah, totally. And it's funny because I designed my own wedding dress. I didn't have a big ball gown. Mine looked more like a monk's habit. And I had an ermine, like I had a cowl and an ermine thing, and it was cut with the sign of the cross in here. And I went, looking back, where did that come from? How
Wow.
was that? But I felt like a snow queen. I got married in December, but it was like, I looked like a white monk. Like, what was that? So it's interesting, right? Just
Yeah.
interesting.
I wonder where that came from. That's very interesting. That's definitely, I feel like you were a nun in a past life. So
Oh, definitely. I'm sure
definitely
I was.
most of
Yeah.
us healers were. So that comes
Well,
from
that was the
something
only
like
way we
that.
could get away from the chaos of the world, right? And as whatever, if we were daughters, whatever level we were in, if they couldn't marry us off, then we were put in a cloister.
Oh, yes, of course.
So
Mhm.
history is fascinating, very
It
fascinating.
really is. Yeah. So is this conversation. I know we could talk for hours. We could talk for hours. I look forward already to the next conversation that we have with you. And I'm sure the viewers are going to find this podcast very interesting. And I do want to let them know before we go, how do they get in touch with you?
Oh, my email is relief, RELIEF at JessyMorrison.ca. Yeah, if they want a copy of the Rainbow of Emotions there, I can send that to them. I'm on Facebook. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Instagram. I'm everywhere.
I know you are. Okay, I'll put the links into the description of this
Okay.
video for them.
And what we could do too is just practice psychically. When I was first growing my business, I would imagine I had this beautiful ball of golden wool here, sort of like a ribbon. And every morning I'd wake up and I'd throw it out of my bed, and I would let it circle around the world, until it was all done. And then very slowly I'd pull it in and saying, just anybody who needs my help, just attach to it. Just reach out, grab the ribbon, and I'll find you.
I
And the
love
phone would
that.
always ring.
I
So,
love that. Let's do that for this video, actually. Let's get it out there. So
all right.
get more viewers. Thank you so much, Jessy. It's always such
Thank you. This
a
was
pleasure to
fun.
speak with you. Thank you. And I look forward to our next one.
Okay.
All
Yeah.
right.
Bye
Take
for
care.
now.
Bye-bye.